Greetings to all you beautiful souls of the universe. Kai here, and on today's video, I want to break down what one of the biggest principles that I started to adopt in my life was to really start creating rapid transformational results. And that was the art of letting go. Now, we live in a society where so much of us and so much of our lives are being filled with desire, craving, aversion, wanting to hit that next milestone, wanting to create that next thing, wanting to create that next result. And as a result, we always live our life in the future, never really enjoying the blessings of the present moment. And it brings me back to one of the best learnings that the Dalai Lama ever taught me. And it was when he was asked by a reporter, I believe, what surprised him most about humanity. And his response was man, because he's the only species that will spend his life in order to make money, and he will sacrifice his health in order to make it. And then what he'll do is he'll sacrifice his money in order to recuperate his health. And as a result, he's so anxious about the future that he doesn't enjoy this present moment. And then as a further result, he lives as if he is never going to die, and then dies having never really lived. And when I learnt that, and I always come back to that quote because as I've developed, as I've matured, as I've grown as a man, I've really started to understand what that really meant. We spend our lives trying to seek, trying to find, trying to create, trying to build, but we do it in a place where we're always trying to live in the future. The funny thing is, even when we try to live in the future, we try to live in the future, but our thoughts of the future are in the present moment. Eckhart Tolle taught me in The Power of Now that even when you think about the future, you think about the future in the here and the now. If you think about the past, you think about the past in the here and the now. And the only reason why we are so bombarded all the time with these thoughts of thinking about the future or holding on to the past is because we have not learnt the power of letting go. And in today's video, I want to break down what letting go has done for me, what letting go has done for my clients, and what letting go can do for you if you apply these teaching and these principles into your daily life and habits. Now, what is letting go? Letting go is simply the act of detachment from an outcome. Detachment from a future event or detachment from a past event. We spend so much of our lives attaching onto this belief that things will get better when, or things will get better if. And then we look into our past and we constantly look at moments in our past when things in our life were perceived as better than maybe how they might be right now. But those things can't be further than the truth, because the Buddha once said the past is the past. The future is the future. The only thing that is real is the here and the now. But maybe you're in a place where no matter what you do, nothing is ever good enough. And so you strive for your goals, you strive for your accomplishments, you strive for your milestones, but you strive it in such a way where even in that process, you feel like you're lacking something. When was the last time you felt in yourself that everything was actually going to be all right? Everything was actually okay. That in fact, where you are right now is perfect because it's where you are right now. You cannot change where you are right now because that's where you are. But you can change where you might be tomorrow by changing the things that you're doing right now. Now, I know that goes into a bit of complexity, but I want to break it down for you because so much of my life was living for the future. I used to have this belief that unless I hit this goal, or unless I created this result, or unless I did this thing in the future, that I wasn't good enough. Or I had this belief that I could not be fully happy unless I had the money, or unless I had the woman, or unless I had the thing. And it's in that process of wanting, desire, craving, attachment, that we can no longer actually put ourselves in a place where we're able to discern the truth. And the truth is, you are already enough. You already have enough. And when I learned to let go of all of these things that I thought that I needed to have in order to actually feel fulfilled, and I learned to let go of all of these beliefs that I created around myself, around how the past used to be better, that things really started to shift in my life. And the very first thing that I learned is whenever we live in the future, or whenever we live in the past, the first thing is we live in that place in the present moment. And so many people are anxious about the future and they're anxious about the past that they can't actually enjoy the present moment. Now, I'm a massive advocator in knowing exactly what it is that you want and then breaking it down into granular detail. I'm also a massive advocate in visualizing what you want and knowing and seeing clearly with a crystal ball exactly what it is that you want. But this is the thing that the law of attraction didn't teach you. And it was the law of vibration, the law of being in the present moment, the law of being in the here and the now, the law of letting go. All of these laws break down and maintain the very same principles, and that is to live in the here and the now. The Buddha spent 6 years of his life suffering and suffering and suffering and suffering, only to realize 6 years later that his suffering didn't have to be that way. That suffering was actually something that was optional. Pain is inevitable. Yes, we feel pain in our life all the time, in constant stress and fear and worry and doubt. No wonder why we're feeling pain. No wonder why we're feeling all of these uncomfortable sensations, or in Buddhism, they're called sankharas. But it wasn't until I learned that it is not until you can learn to let go of this attachment to getting to where you want to go that life starts pulling itself to you. In other words, most people are trying to push towards their goals. And I used to be like that. I used to be like, you have to push in order to succeed. You have to push in order to feel healthy. You have to push in order to break the barriers. And yes, there is a slight truth to that. Sometimes in order to break records, sometimes in order to do the thing that most people don't achieve, you have to be willing to go where people aren't willing to go. But that does not mean that you need to live your life in a place where you are not satisfied, you're not grateful, you're not present. In other words, there are ways to live life where you can simply let go. I'm not here to say that by letting go, it means that you denounce all of your worldly possessions and you sit in a monastery and you sit down and meditate. No. That's not the way much of the world works. We wouldn't function as a society if that were to be the case. But what I am saying is that if you actually want to live a life where you can be here in the now, in this beautiful, beautiful present moment, which is always changing and changing and changing. Learn to live in the change. Learn to enjoy the change. I was taught by Jim Rohn in one of his audio books or audio seminars many years ago that he never wished to be a millionaire for the sake of having $1 million. He wished to become a millionaire for the man that it would make of him. For the man that it will make of him. Now, what if you're striving and you're reaching and you're, pushing towards that goal? What if it wasn't actually about the goal at all? What if it was about you and how you feel about the goal? You and your approach to the goal? You and your striving towards the goal? Without the attachment to the goal? I know that's a very complex and a little bit of a woo-woo kind of way of thinking about it. But just think for a moment. Imagine if you could live life knowing that no matter what happened in your life, you were always going to get where you wanted to go. And you had this deep trust and this deep knowing and this deep understanding and this deep belief that no matter what you did, you were always on the right path. What if? What if all of a sudden you believed that? Well, I'm here to say that I really started to adopt that in my life. And as soon as I did, everything in my life changed tremendously. Now, at the end of the day, I'm still a human. Yes, sometimes I still crave, sometimes I still avert, sometimes I still live in the past, sometimes I still try to live too far in the future. Sometimes I get head over heels and infatuated with this idea that the future might get better. However, I've learned now that the best moment that you have in life is actually here and now. There's nothing else. And you will, in fact, feel much more fulfilled, much more grateful, much more in love with your life and your process and your state of being if you just learnt to let go and accept where it is that you are right now. So I just wanted to give that as a golden nugget for anyone that really understands that today, because when I learned that, everything in my life changed. And I hope that was really valuable for you, because if it was, leave a comment, leave a like, and yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Cheers, Kai.